Hello, this is David Baumblick from Terebinth Leadership. This will be a video I'm going to post on YouTube. So my YouTube channel originally was censored, suspended, so I've just uploaded a new YouTube channel. We'll see where this goes. If you're listening to me now, I've been on social media for about 2 years, and I've been censored, suspended on multiple, X, Twitter 3 times, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. TikTok was doing very well, suspended on that 3 times. And I don't have a problem so much with TikTok, it's a Chinese company, but considering that I'm an American military veteran, suspended on American media. So for anyone who don't know about me, go to my website. I'm a former FBI agent, West Point graduate, U.S. military officer, and I left America in 2010 because my prediction stands. I believe America is going to collapse. And I am what's called on the FBI terrorist watch list. I'm not welcome back in America. I've been spied upon. Again, there's a lot to my story. You could look it up. But again, I've been on social media 2 years, and it's a repeating story, and I get canceled. So to save the other audience members who I am, just look me up, and you kind of know who I am. But I've been totally ignored by the politicians, the FBI, who are corrupt, who have no problem spying behind my back and flagging my passport so that I'm not able to travel to certain countries. So anyway, let me talk about today's episode. And it's pretty interesting because what I'm about to tell you, it's just shocking in a way, and it goes into what I keep saying. The systems in America are not working. I say again, if the systems were working, you shouldn't be listening to me. I shouldn't be on here. 5 years ago when I reached out to the politicians, the FBI, everything, they should have responded to me, and I should have never had to go public. So you're going to see more and more that the systems are breaking down, and it leads to what I keep saying, a type of collapse, civil war, revolution. You're going to see it. And what I want to do is, and people know my background, and that is I'm a pro-Trump supporter. But I'm going to say some negative things about Trump because no one's perfect, but it's good to know. So people think I'm talking negative about Trump. No, I've said many times, I think he's the best president in my lifetime. But my ideology is nationalism, and he's the most nationalist president, but he's not there. And one thing I should add, because there's a lot of people probably watching who don't know about me, and that is when I left America in 2010, I didn't understand this concept called ethno-nationalist. So many people would consider me a white nationalist. I was anything but a white nationalist in America. I still believe that America's racist, white men are racist, but when you travel to non-Western countries like China, it's all governed by what's called ethno-nationalism. There's only one country in the Western world that would be considered ethno-nationalist, and that would be Israel, which is considered a Jewish state. So this is all common sense leadership. The more you live in a certain country, culture, the more you learn and you grow to it. And so the point is, if you live in non-Western countries, the ideology is ethno-nationalism. You could live in India, Japan. I think very highly of Japan. I've said many times, I view Japan as the creme de la creme of Asia. It's ethno-nationalism, meaning there is racism. But you change your mind on racism, and that is, China's been Chinese for thousands of years, and they're very proud of that. They wouldn't be able to do that if they weren't racist. So I've said many times that after living in the non-Western countries, what you'll realize is that America is the least racist country in the world, and white men are the least racist people. If anyone disagrees, just write in the comments. Say, no, I disagree with you, David. This country in the non-Western world is less racist than America and this group of people. I can tell you from the Chinese, and this is not negative, but the racism in China, it's through the roof. I mean, it's nothing you see. But that's not necessarily negative, what I'm telling them. But if you think there's racism in America, I wanted to say that because what I'm trying to say about America's collapsing in Trump is what Americans are wanting more and more is they realize that we've gotten diversity, and it's through the corporations, we know that. And our ideology is globalism, that more and more Americans are realizing who is their family. Our family structures have broken down. The family is dead in America. And once the family structure is destroyed, which it is in America, then you go to society. We're at a civil war in society. Once society's broken down, which is close, it's going to go to country. But Americans are yearning for that sense of family, loyalty, trust. We don't know where to go. I mean, even you could look at a lot of the Republicans, even the MAGA people. I don't consider myself MAGA. I consider myself a nationalist. And a lot of the MAGA people think they're nationalists, but MAGA general are not nationalists. So, and you could go anywhere. I mean, we've said many times, is America a Christian country? It's not a Christian country. It used to be. It's not a Christian country anymore. So at the end of the day, Americans, and this is not just from a sense of white nationalists, I mean all types of ethnicities in America are yearning to figure out who is their family, who's their tribe, and so they feel like they could trust someone, because we can't trust anyone anymore. So it's happening throughout, and this level of more and more of corruption, lack of trust, it's going to lead. You're going to see this. And so let me give you an example in the FBI. And when I left the FBI in 2007, I still remember I went to what's called the ASAC. This is the Assistant Special Agent in Charge of Intelligence. She's a woman. This is also another thing you learn in the non-Western world. It's a man's world. I mean, feminism is not tolerated in the non-Western world. So again, when we talk about the patriarchy in the West, I believe it's a matriarchy. If you really want to go to a patriarchic country, go to the non-Western. So what was my point? Well, J. Edgar Hoover, no women were allowed in the FBI. Can't seem to argue with that. So anyway, she was a woman, head of intelligence. And I remember I was very polite with her. I wasn't like a lot of these FBI whistleblowers who I think are grifters in many ways. I looked at her and I said, hey, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to go into the FBI. Not like her, but generally the FBI. I said I'm very proud, I'm very humbled, and I want to be as polite as could be, because I was not a disgruntled employee when I left, and I just said, I just want to go in the private sector. And then when I left, that's when I wrote my letter when I was at Harvard to Senator Chuck Grassley, who's ignored me. But the point being is what we're seeing, and this goes into the FBI, to Trump, and we're falling apart, and that is the government used to be filled with people with much more competence. This would be the 1950s, 60s, 70s, but I'll do more videos, but the people in the FBI and the CIA, even the West Pointers, they're not the best and the brightest anymore. They're not, and they're destroying our country. And I've said many times, I think one of the ways is defund the FBI and the CIA at least by 50%, cut the fat, and those who make the cut, give them a raise, so you have to raise it. But you have people, and this is the story right now, that I'm going to give something in the FBI where you might say, David, doesn't the FBI know about this? No, you would be amazed how incompetent these people are. It's really bad, and it's a shame. And so like I said, when I left, I had no ambition to sort of say this stuff at all. But the people in our government, and I say right now, you know, people like Dan Bongino and Kash Patel. Dan Bongino, who's also blocked me on Twitter, now he's working for the FBI. They know about me. I have FBI corruption to report. Why would they ignore me? Any American with common sense would say, why is this American citizen who honorably served America, why is he not welcome back in America? And again, there's probably a lot of new viewers that are like, what is he talking? I've done so many videos. Again, I've been on social media now for 2 years, so I would just ask you to look at my older videos. You know, I'm detained, searched, interrogated, physically assaulted when I was in America. That's called a crime. Physically assaulted by the FBI, humiliated, deceived. I mean, I could go on, and my passport's been flagged, spying behind my back, and then I could go on to it. But I'm not going to do everything, again, because this video is going to go out to my new YouTube channel. But for those who are not catching it, go back on Rumble. I do have to admit, though, thank you, Rumble. Rumble, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think I've ever been censored. There are some little weird things that are happening. I won't go into it, but generally speaking, I don't believe I've been censored on Rumble. So to all you military veterans out there that are fighting for freedom, why aren't you fighting for our freedom of speech that's being canceled? So let's go into this topic. Now, it's already on record that at the U.S. consulate in Hong Kong, I asked to speak with the FBI agent. I mean, I've been trying to get a hold of the FBI. That person refused to speak with me. So it's on record, and I even said I have national security report. How I have to say this on a public forum, it shows again, our systems are breaking down. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Even I remember when I was in the FBI, I always liked the older guys, the Vietnam vets, and there was a Vietnam vet special agent, and he disliked FBI management. He used the term, he's like, the FBI management is the great white hunter shooting at wounded animals. And I'm not looking at this from a racial standpoint, but many times the FBI are bullies. And you know what a bully is too? They're actually afraid. That's why bullies, they pick on weaker opponents. But they don't want to pick on opponents equal or definitely not. They're afraid. And you'll find that too with the FBI. Many of them are they're very bullies. And a lot of them are not smart enough, not courageous enough, and don't want to work hard enough to leave the government and get a real job in the private sector. It just is what it is. I have to admit it, but they're not. And this is the same thing in the CIA. I could go on, but the best and the brightest are not working there. And what you have is you have lower grade people that are there. I mean, I remember working with a CIA guy. Now, there's always a few. I'd say like the top 1%, I would have put my resume in the top 10%, but the top 1%, these guys could be like Hollywood, Jason Bourne's top 1%. But a lot of times they leave. I remember working with a CIA guy. He went down to South America to do his tour. He was from a pretty good law school. He's like, I'm out of here. Another story, I'll do more stories, but when I was in the FBI, I was 2 doors down from the FBI recruiter. And so there are CIA and FBI recruiters, and they're open about it. They go out and they recruit at college campuses, and they're real FBI and CIA people, and they recruit you. And so the FBI recruiter, who's a special agent, and he changed from working cases, and his father was in the FBI, and he loved the FBI. That's good for him. Wasn't also impressed with his resume, but anyway, he wanted to be a full-time FBI recruiter and recruit the best and the brightest. This is a true story. All my stories are true, by the way. So 2 doors down, and all of a sudden, and he takes trips every week. Like, he's on travel and going around. He does recruiting at all different events, and many times at colleges. So he's going to some law school. I don't even remember what this law school was called. It's like a no-name law school. And I asked him, I said, why aren't you going to Stanford Law School, Harvard Law School, the top law schools? He looked at me. He's absolutely right. He's like, why would I go to those law schools? They'll never join the FBI. They're too high. He goes, we go to the mediocre law schools and they get them. Now, again, it was different back in the earlys. I'm telling you, I think highly of J. Edgar Hoover. I know people say he's corrupt and he was authoritarian. I'm not going to argue with you. But I'm telling you, the quality of agents were much higher in the 50s, 60s, 70s, even 80s, because the private sector wasn't as developed. And the recruiter was right. Now you've got FBI and CIA people. Where are they trying to get to? TikTok, which is a Chinese company, TikTok, Amazon, Boeing. I mean, I could go on, but the best and brightest are not in there. So again, I go into so this is documented because this story just shows our systems are breaking down. And if anyone knows, these are on my Rumble videos. So I'm in Hong Kong and I want to speak with the FBI ALAT. This is normal. Former FBI agent, it's very informal. You want to see them, they talk with you. So this is not like a special VIP request. It's very normal. And he's scared to see me because he knows I'm going to ask him questions. Besides the national security I'm going to report, the questions that I'm going to ask him, he's going to self-incriminate himself with the FBI. And it's the same thing your good lawyer tells you, don't talk to the police. This is our FBI. So he sends the diplomatic security team. These are like the special agents, diplomatic security. It reminds me of that movie. Do you ever see that movie, Rocky V? I think, who's the guy? Tommy the Machine Gun. Remember that, Rocky V? And there was a time where Rocky was going to fight him in the streets. And right before Rocky was going to go out, there were these 2 big fat guys who is in the bar. And they come up to Rocky and say, hey, Rocky, you got a problem? We can help you out. And Rocky says, no, guy, this is not a pie eating contest. I'm fine. You'll go back to what you're doing. It reminded me that was in the American consulate in Hong Kong. You have these yo-yo diplomatic there were special agents in the State Department, diplomatic security. They were sent by the FBI. They're goons. And there's one thing 99% of all these diplomatic special agents have, 99%, they all have rejection letters from the FBI. They all apply. I mean, you think the FBI is not high, you go to these yo-yos. So I remember, because I requested to speak with the FBI agent there, and I'm in this private booth at the U.S. consulate, and all of a sudden these 2 yo-yos walk in there, and they say, diplomatic security special agent. And I was like, what are you guys doing here? I want to speak with the FBI ALAT. And they're like, just like the Rocky movie, like, we're here to help you. I'm thinking, no, this is above your pay grade. I'm not interested in talking with you. I want to talk with the FBI agent. And they're like, well, he doesn't want to talk with you. This is what I mean about being a bully. I've never seen, I could tell you more stories in the FBI. I've never seen, there's two types of people who really like the FBI. Bullies or bullied. Any psychologist will back me up on this, because unlike any agency in America, if you're looking for power and secrets, it's the FBI. There is no agency pound for pound more powerful than that. So a lot of people go in the FBI because either you are a bully, it's a great way to bully people because you have power, or you were bullied. Like, you'll get a lot of these feminist women, they have a chip on their shoulder, they were bullied, whatever, and now they want to become the bully. It's all, but we all know bullies really, they're afraid, they're cowards. They always want to pick on the weak. That's the FBI. So here you have an FBI legat who's too afraid to speak with an American citizen. It's wrong. Our systems aren't working. So what I'm going to tell you a story. This story should never be on open. It just shows you our systems are breaking down. But it's going to be a little bit of a rabbit hole. You got to go with me on this. And it goes back to Donald Trump, which I like Donald Trump. He's not going to save the system, people. Give it time. But again, I'm pro. So if anyone thinks, oh, he's got Trump derangement system. No. Look at my videos. Anyone knows me. I'm very pro-Trump. But I'm a nationalist. And Trump, technically, he's not a nationalist, but he's a close one. So I'm going to speak a little in code here. It's not so much in code. You'll get it. But let these goons in the CIA and the FBI, let them do their homework and figure this stuff out. And if you say, David, don't these people know about this? No, they don't. Remember, I'm on record. At least I've said, when I was in the Bureau, I joined the Bureau in 2004. I'm on record. Back then, I told the Bureau that the enemy of China is a much bigger enemy than terrorism. Because you got to remember, I was in 2004. That was the war on terror. Remember, the Taliban, ISIS, we're going to get to that. There's no way. I knew it. Within a year in the FBI, I said China is a much bigger threat for America's interest, national security, than the Taliban, than ISIS. It's not even close. They didn't listen to me. So the point is don't overestimate don't underestimate the incompetence of these people in the government, because they're not doing it for duty on our country. They're doing it because it's the best paycheck and pension they could get. Meaning, if they could get accepted into Goldman Sachs tomorrow, they're gone. If they could go into McKinsey, they're gone. They're gone. They're not doing it. Because even like these suspendables, they're grifters. They're grifters too. So here's the data point, and we're going to go around. It's going to be a little bit of a round circle. We all know that there's going to be a war coming with China. And I'm telling you, it's going to be America's the aggressor. And just so you know, to anyone know about my China, I know more about China than anyone in the United States government. Hands down. Hands down. I believe you have to take a defensive posture with China, not an offensive, because we're the war machine, not China. So what would be a defensive posture? Think about it this way. To the American government, I'm giving you some advice because your leadership is horrible. Before you try to convince the American people that China's the enemy, try to convince the American corporations first. Isn't that an interesting logical argument? Before you try to convince the American people that China's the enemy, try to convince Boeing, the American military industrial complex that I work for in Beijing, that they're the enemy, meaning they should decouple. Then, to the American people, before you say China's the enemy, probably stop buying Chinese products. Novel idea, it's common sense. So that's the first thing to do. Second, I am not in the agreement with the government. Again, if you saw Tom Cotton's interview with the TikTok CEO from Singapore, and he kept doing, he was a moron. Tom Cotton's a moron. They don't get it. They don't, talk about an absolute moron, Tom Cotton. And Tom Cotton knows about me. He's ignoring me. Let me tell you my stance. It's different than the government. We'll get to the point. Just we have to talk a little bit. The government thinks that the Chinese government is the enemy. But the Chinese people are good. You hear that all the time. They're like, we have no problem with the Chinese people. We just have a problem with that evil Chinese government. Which that doesn't make any sense, because the American corporations, Apple, Boeing, Amazon, you name it, they're directly doing business with the Chinese government. So that doesn't make any sense. If they're the enemy, why are you doing it? I have a different take on it from leadership. I believe, and again, I know more about China than anyone in the United States government. The Chinese people and the Chinese government are about 80%, 90% the same. Now, I want to be very politically correct because it's the truth. I'm not saying that as a compliment, nor am I saying that negatively. You use whatever adjective you want, but the point remains, they're not that much different. Now, I have really no problem with the Chinese government. Let them do what they want to do. Everyone's worried about Israel. Everyone's worried about Taiwan. Everyone's worried about Ukraine, but no one really cares about American citizens or military veterans. So let's worry about America first. But what I would do also in a defensive stance, I would not allow Chinese citizens to immigrate to America and become U.S. citizens. Now the United States government is catching on a little bit. They're not, I hope, they're not allowing Chinese government to buy land in America. Okay, that's good, I get it, and that's a path forward. But I just wouldn't. I know there's a lot of these Chinese citizens who come to America and say, I hate the Chinese government, and I love America, and I want to be a citizen. I just wouldn't. I mean, if you could be welcome in America, I mean, maybe give you a permanent resident. I just would not give them U.S. citizenship. It's another video. People get it or you don't. But if you've lived what I've lived in the non-Western world, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So they're not the enemy, though. I don't have a problem with the Chinese people. I think they're good. I don't even have a problem with the Chinese government. In fact, I think they're good too. But we're not them and they're not us. It's the same thing, men and women. I'm not a woman and a woman's not a man. I like women, but we're not the same. And so sometimes there needs to be separation. And the point being is I would not allow the Chinese to immigrate to America and become U.S. citizens. If you disagree with me, keep it up, have fun, give it time. So what I want to make, because we're going to go to this data point, is don't fool yourself. I believe that Americans, for nationalism, have to take a strong defensive stance with China. But offensive, Taiwan, I've lived in Taiwan, I've dated Taiwanese women, and Taiwan is already compromised with intelligence. You don't know. There's more Taiwanese people who like Beijing than you think. It's not our war, people. It's not our war. It's like Ukraine, it's like Israel. It's not our war, but everyone in America seems to be an expert on Taiwan and China. Again, I've lived all throughout Taiwan, and I like it. Don't fool yourself. The quality of life in Taiwan is much better than mainland China. But that still doesn't change my mind. I'm not going to die for those people. Let's get to this data point. Data point number one, let's get to this straight. We talk about this war with China. Where's this going to be? It's going to be a naval war. If this happens, and I believe it's going to be America who's going to initiate it. It's not going to be China. China will be defensive, and America, like always, we're going to go on the offensive. But it is what it is. Let's go with this data point because it's going to be a rabbit hole. The Pacific Ocean is going to be a major territory, a major region from a military standpoint who controls that. And right now, America controls that, and China's trying. There's a particular island in the Pacific. It's called the Pitcairn Islands. It's a UK colony. It's under UK legal administration. And when I make this point to you bozos in the Bureau and the agency, this is just one of many islands. But it's called the Pitcairn Island under UK, but it's loosely governed. There's only about 50 people in this island. Guess who is doing under the gauze, I guess you'd say, the clause of humanitarian relief? There's a cryptocurrency company called Tron. In fact, I actually have some Tron coins. I'm not saying to buy them, but it's another. If you're into cryptocurrency, you should know this currency probably. It's called Tron, like the movie Tron. This is Chinese. Justin Sun. There's a major project to industrialize that island under humanitarian reasons. That was interesting. It's not. Now, so to you bozos in the government, I would be looking at that. Again, that's under the UK, and there's many there. So it's under the gauze. Now, what would be the purpose of these islands? I don't know. Anyone knows? You hear all these artificial islands coming up? Well, this ain't artificial. It's already there. But strategic standpoints, they're building up. But anyway, it's a humanitarian project. It's not. It's under the gauze. There's an intelligence operations there. But now you might say, okay, well, what is this all about? Well, first of all, and again, the American government knows nothing about this stuff. The FBI is too worried about chasing white supremacists in America. That's their number one priority, is chase those white supremacists. Who cares about foreign nationals? But here's where the rabbit hole is going. Justin Sun, who's the founder of the CEO, I mean, this guy's a billionaire now. works under the clause of the Chinese government. Don't fool yourself. Meaning, China is different than America. You're not making any money in China without the permissions of the Chinese government. Everything's connected. That's on behalf of the Chinese government. They're building that island up. And they're going to place some strategic pieces of equipment on there for the potential war. And they're going to outmaneuver the UK because it's under the UK laws. The UK doesn't know what they're doing either. It's going to happen. But if you look up Justin Swin, he was under the under the SEC. He had a lawsuit. I think it was like $40 million. There was a lawsuit against him. And I'm for crypto generally. But then Trump launched his meme coin, which I like to consider to be a shit coin, along with him and Melania. Who is the number one holder of Trump's meme coin? Justin Swin. And remember when Trump had his Mar-a-Lago, which I like Trump, but anyone with leadership knows that is grift number one. You got a president launching meme coins and having a private dinner with his highest stakeholders, meaning his coin holders. Again, I'm a Trump supporter. I like him, but we got to call a spade a spade. I mean, I'm absolutely mind-boggled. Guess who's the number one coin holder? Justin Swin, who was able to have a one-on-one. This is basically buying influence. A Chinese citizen able to buy their way one-on-one influence with the president of the United States. Oh, they're about to do it. They're about to do a dragon formula. I'm gonna do it. Back to here. Hopefully you can hear me. We'll end it. Only about 5 more minutes. Anyway, that lawsuit was dropped. Any correlation to the meeting with Trump? But here's the point, the bigger picture. When you're a nationalist government, like non-Western countries, like China, Saudi Arabia, your loyalties, your enemies, and your allies are actually much more clear and much more linear. When you're a globalist country, we're globalists. Whether you believe that or not, you disagree or not, we as Americans are globalists. One of the reasons why I left, I don't consider myself a globalist. I mean, globalism has some positivities, but I'm a nationalist. But this is the point where it's going to circle around. Remember the war on terror for 20 years, and you had these bozos generals who are absolute traitors to the American people, along with the politicians and the industrial complex. We're talking the generals. And what did they preach for 20 years? ISIS, the Taliban, the war on terror, and they want money, money, money. Guess what you saw Donald Trump do in Syria with the new president of Syria? Shake his hand, he's a good guy, yeah, he's part of ISIS. Now, I'm not disagreeing with Trump because it's one big bullshit. I mean, Trump's calling it out. You're going to see, not just with ISIS, you're probably going to see the Taliban in Afghanistan. Sooner or later, someone from the American government is going to go there too, shake their hand and say, listen, it's time to do business with the Taliban. It's time to make money. And all these, and I feel, when I focus on the military, I focus on the military officer corps. These people are traitors. But to you enlisted people, which are the main people who die in a war, you've been betrayed by our officers. But you're going to see a lot of military people, same thing, like, dude, for 20 years we fought against ISIS. We fought against the Taliban. What is Donald Trump shaking their hands with? It's not really just on Donald Trump. It's, the Bidens would have done it, the Democrat. This is globalism. So just what I just said about this Tron company, who's worked for the Chinese government, which I don't blame. If I was the Chinese government, you better get ready, because America is going to invade you. America will invade you, and we don't care about the Taiwanese. We don't care about the Ukraine. It's all about money. So I actually agree with the Chinese on doing this. But I'm telling you, to the Americans, before you say, yeah, that evil Tron company, that evil, Chinese, and then you have, hopefully you can still hear me. We'll do one quick thing. Hope you see it. Before you say that evil Tron company, that evil Justin Swin, that's the same Justin that was at Mar-a-Lago, which I would have loved to meet Donald Trump. Not because I'm like a fanboy, but why am I not welcome back? I have government corruption to report. Donald Trump seems to have no time for me, but he does have time for the CEO of a Chinese cryptocurrency that's doing some interesting things on a national strategic level against America. Why? Perhaps because Justin Sun's a billionaire and he's the biggest investor of the Trump shitcoin? I'm going to end it with there. And I just want to recap it from a leadership. And because the American citizens, you might say, David, what does this mean for us though? What's the leadership on this? And don't fool yourself. A lot of times the leadership we have to review. It's going to come again where America is falling apart due to globalism because you don't really know who's our enemy, right? For 20 years we thought the Taliban, ISIS, not anymore. I thought China. Well, it depends if we're making money. I mean, think about it. I was illegally fired from Boeing. Boeing's working with the Chinese government, and I was replaced by a Chinese national. The point is, in America, this is the benefit of places like China or not. And I don't even want to live in mainland China. I'm in Hong Kong. But anyway, you know more clear who's the enemy and who's the ally. In a globalist society, who knows? I thought Taliban was the enemy. Well, now we're making money. And I think really at the end of the day in America is if we can make money off them, they're our friend. I mean, we do business with North Korea. If we don't make money off them, then they're our enemy. I think that's all about. It's all about money. It's all about money. And the people in our government, why are they working in our government? It's no longer, and as a proud West Pointer, I mean, I'm not proud really anymore. I think West Point's overrated. But they're not in our government for duty, honor, country. They're in our government because it's the best paycheck and pension they could get. Meaning they were denied by Boeing and Goldman Sachs. I mean, they're not in there. And we've really turned into a corporation. And this is not something that I'm going on the Chinese case because it's an interesting intelligence tidbit that I gave out. But I do have to admit, China, as corrupt as it is, it doesn't operate as a corporation. It really operates as a people. And they're very proud that China has been a Chinese civilization for thousands of years. And that's the same with everything, to include Israel. I think Israel is smart that they want to keep Israel a Jewish state. I'm not saying we should give them money, though. I'm not into giving Israel money. But the point being is what are we in America? I think all we are is a corporation. We really are. And all you have to do is follow the money, and that's where we go. We don't really have any other core benefits. And if you follow the money, then you have to go to the richest people, which is part of Trump, Elon Musk. They're the people running the show. And at the end of the day, Trump, as much as he's a nationalist, there's still a lot of globalism with him. And I say at the very end, if this country does very well, then I'll admit I'm wrong. But my prediction stands. We're going to go to collapse, and the systems aren't working. And anyone disagrees with me, then as an American military veteran, I ask for your help. Can you please contact your local politician or media, whatever, or any of these conservative MAGA influence, say, why are you ignoring this guy, David Baumblad? Why is he not welcome back in America? Why has his passport been flagged? Why am I on the terrorist watch list? Along with Boeing and Amazon, why are they colluding with the Chinese government? But that's what I would say. If you don't support an American military veteran, which I get it, well, you never really, then just say it. But what we're tired of America is the lies. As much as we say these other countries are corrupt, we're lying so much. So I would just say is be honest and say either if you support the American military veterans, then I ask you for your support. If you don't, and you say, no, I really don't support you military veterans, you never helped us, you work for the military industrial complex, I'm actually going to respect you. You have it. Either way, if you do support, I appreciate it. Click like, send this video out, because my case is a lot more going on in terms of government corruption. And the sooner we start unraveling this, not just with me, with all cases, the sooner we're going to get more to the truth in America. And what's the truth? I don't think these systems are going to last anymore. I really don't. And before I end, let me give advice. As always, and I say this again, my advice, if you're a patriot, I would really say do two things. You need to leave America, or two, stay in America. But this theory of America first is a day late and $1 short. It's going to be state first, meaning you have got to get to a community. So instead of saying we Americans, it's too much. We don't know who. It's maybe time we Texans, we South Dakotans, we people from Tennessee, where it doesn't have to be as diverse. But I think that's what's going to happen in America, whereas either you're going to have to leave, because you're going to see this, there's people in the crypto bull run. There's going to be people who are going to make a ton of money. Don't fool yourself. watch what they do. They're going to leave America. So either leave America, and that's another video where to go, or you better start hunkering down in America and ask yourself, who is your family? Who are your brothers and sisters? Who can help you and who can you help? And this kumbaya of America, it's too big, it's too diverse, it's not going to work. And so maybe you're going to say, you know something, America first is wrong. Maybe it's state first and America second. You're going to start seeing that. But either way, I appreciate your support. If you could click like, send this, and if you've got connections to your politicians, a simple question. Why are you ignoring David Boundlet? Why is he an American citizen who honorably served as a military veteran and the FBI? Why am I not welcome back in America? Why am I being ignored and censored on all social media? Censored beyond belief. Doesn't make sense. I appreciate your support, and to the American patriots and also to the Western patriots, which are very similar to us, Godspeed to you and lead to victory.